Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.
Welcome back. We are here for another episode of Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook. As always, we've got Kelly Cook with us. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Elizabeth. I'm ready to sell some real estate or help people sell some real estate, right?
Yeah, do both. You sell it and you tell people how to do it. That's the best of both.
Exactly. I practice what I preach.
Exactly.
Every day, all day.
Exactly. Super in it. So, we have talked a lot about investing lately because of course that's always a great strategy to go into, especially to, build your wealth, build your portfolio, build off of your knowledge of real estate, right? It makes sense to invest in real estate, invest in what you know, right? We've covered that kind of extensively here. And a couple episodes back, before we got into that, we were talking about, of course, this market, so low inventory. It's still that way. I know we've been talking about that for probably close to a year now. I mean, really, we've been in the trenches here. It's, still going strong, as in there are no houses that are coming on the market. So with that, it's been tricky for buyers. We kind of talked about, ways that you can get your buyer's offer accepted. And we want to go a little bit deeper into one specific tactic, and that is how to write an escalation clause. It's something that, you agents are probably writing a ton of, more than you ever have before. So how do you do it properly? How do you utilize that strategy to actually, get a good deal for your buyers, right?
That's a great question. Yes, exactly. So, I love telling stories, Elizabeth. Let's start off with a real life story. Like I said, we're in the trenches here doing exactly what we preach. So here's a real life story that just happened, and we'll kind of expound upon that, right? So we have a buyer client that was looking to purchase a property. This property actually came on the market for $530, and it's one of the rare properties in here in the Phoenix area that did not sell right away. Now, why is that? It's one reason and one reason only, right? Price, right? Because right now there's two different strategies, right? There's a strategy right now in pricing a property that you obviously look at you do your normal market valuation, you determine what the market value based upon the data is today. And then what's going to happen inevitably in this market is you're going to have multiple offers, and then they start competing. Then you jump in the middle and you start facilitating that competition. So they drive the price up, right? That's what's happening in many cases.
Lower so that you get more competition. Yeah.
Yeah. And the good agents get in the middle of that, and they get their client an additional $5,000, $10,000 above the asking, as opposed to, the 20 they're going to get no matter what above the asking, right? They get 25 to 30 maybe, because they're in there facilitating the argument, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. So they're at 530. This just happened last weekend. True story. Okay. And it didn't sell. It was on the market for about 2 weeks. Sellers said, you know what? I'm dropping the price. Now, smart move. And what most sellers would do, especially in this market, they would come down 5,000, maybe 3,000, something like that. Just kind of chip away on it every single week. Wrong move if you're a seller, right? That's how you lose as a seller. So they were smart about it. They must have got good advice from the agent, or they just won the fire sale or whatever. I don't know, but they reduced down to 505, right? $25,000 reduction. Now, we saw that and my client liked the house and said, let's make an offer. So we made an offer and tried to get in as soon as possible, because I knew that price reduction would probably, spur something, right? So we made the offer at full price, right? Clean as a whistle. We didn't waive any terms because we figured, hey, it's been on the market for 2 weeks. And so maybe we can get by with keeping our appraisal contingency intact and our due diligence period intact, our loan contingency intact, all that stuff. So we made a clean offer, not asking for anything, close as fast as we possibly can, and we submitted it. Now, within 12 hours, right? Because there was some sleeping period there, right? It was a Friday night. They had 2 more offers the next morning. Go figure, right? Including ours.
Of course. Yeah.
So this stinks, right? So then we find out from the listing agent, they don't really have a time frame. She's just going to present the offers as they came in here. and they kind of stalled on ours a little bit, right? Because I was hoping they'd get ours presented Friday night, but they didn't. And see if we can win. Well, they were going to present all the offers, and now at this point, we're at a disadvantage, right? We are. Why? Because when other people called and said, "Hey, do you have any offers on the table?" What'd she say? "Yeah, I got one." Right? So now they're thinking, okay.
Which we talked about in an earlier podcast. You want to be closer to the end of
yes
of that.
Yes. And when we started, we were good, right? There were no offers, and so we tried to take advantage of that. They didn't work out. They had a couple offers. So then I right away said, "Well, can we obviously get back in the game?" She said, "Yeah." I go, "What's your deadline?" She said, "I don't have a deadline." Okay, so now time is of the essence, right? Because in theory, they can present the offer, one of the other offers. Client goes, "Yeah, sounds great. It's whatever, 10,000 over or something." And away they go. So I called my client. We heard up and got the new offer in. Okay. Now, here he said, "What should we do?" Now, have you ever been in that situation as a real estate agent where the client said, "What do you think?" or "What should we do?" I hope you have, because that's what you're being paid for.
Yeah, they're coming to you for your advice. Yeah.
You're the professional.
Yeah.
Exactly. So even if your opinion is wrong, have an opinion. That's the point, right? Now, and hopefully your opinion is right most of the time, because no one's perfect. So here's what I said. We did some other terms and weighed this and a couple other things, but I said, "Look, here's the deal. How much would you pay for the property?" He's like, "Well," key question, right? Because he goes, "Well, honestly, when it was at 530, we were kind of okay with that because they liked the house, right?" I said, "Okay, perfect. That gives me some perspective to work with now. So here's what I suggest we do." He goes, "Let's just go to 530. I go, No, hold on. In order not to leave money on the table potentially, because we don't know where his other offers lie, let's just increase it a little bit as an act of good faith." So we went from 505 and we increased it to 515. Okay. Then I said, in addition to that, let's utilize the escalation clause, right? And so he said, "What do you recommend? Like $1,000 over another offer?" I said, "Nope, absolutely not." Why? Because that's what everyone else is doing. It doesn't stand out if they do an escalation clause for $1,000 over. So to make an impact, a splash, if you will, I recommended to go 5,000 above any other offer, and then you cap the escalation clause. Now, we'll talk about it in just a second. You don't have to cap it, but let's come back. Let's table that for a second, okay? But most people have little tolerance to risk, and so they like to have that certainty with the cap, right? So we cap it, and he goes, "Let's cap it at 530. I said, "Now let's think about this. You were good at 530. I get that. But that's what they were originally asking. So if somebody else is thinking, I really want the house too, and they're above the asking price by a decent amount, quote unquote, per the agent, is it possible they could thought the same thing and go, hey, they were asking 530 for it, so let's give them 530 to get this property." And my client goes, "Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, they probably are." I said, "Yes, psychology of what the other people are thinking, right?" And then I go, "So that being said, if it's your money, not mine, but if you want my advice here, I would have recommend to beat any offer by $5,000 up to 535, which almost should guarantee you get the house." He goes, "Okay, I like it. Let's do it." I said, "Perfect." Now, in addition to that, I was able to find out from the agent, because she spilled the beans, that the other offer that was basically the second best one, they were really strong, but they didn't waive completely their appraisal contingency. So what we did is we did an appraisal guarantee. It's basically a hybrid between not waiving your appraisal at all and waiving it completely, right? So what we did is we agreed that we would automatically buy the house or pay $15,000 over whatever the appraised value came in at, not to exceed the purchase price. So we're still good at 535 as our cap, right? So we did some other things with the earnest money and so on and so forth in terms of, making that a little more and whatnot. But he still had his inspection period of 5 days, refundable, and doesn't like something, the roof's caving in, he can walk away. So we go about our business with that. We resubmit, and within 24 hours, guess who won the offer, Elizabeth?
I'm going to go with you. Your client.
Good guess. No,
otherwise, don't tell us the story if you didn't win, Kelly. Come on.
Exactly. It's still a good story regardless. It's a learning experience, right, for everybody. Listen, I like to sit here and say, hey, good, because I'm on this podcast, I win every time, but I don't. Unfortunately, I don't, right? But we do most of the time. So we get the property, and not only do we get the property, we got it for 525.
The
So in
appraisal?
theory,
Or
what's
was it
that?
just because of the appraisal, or just because that was the
No,
next?
no, yeah, there you go. No appraisal yet. We're not there yet,
Oh
but
yeah.
you're exactly right, because the next best offer was 520, and they had to prove it to us, and they did. It was 520, which now allowed us to get the property for 525. It's a beautiful thing. So in theory, in my mind, and my client actually in his mind too, he admitted it. I just saved him $10,000 because he's willing to pay 535 to get the house.
And
Right?
especially in this market, I think that people are panicking and just, like, oh, it's listed at 505. Well, I want to make sure I get this house. We're going to offer 530 right off the bat. And then they're like,
yes,
you don't necessarily need to go that high. Be willing to, because it is this market right now, but you don't necessarily don't just write the offer for that. So I think
that's right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it worked out great. I mean, and again, rule number one is go higher than $1,000, which is what everyone else is doing on the escalation clause. Why? Well, because let's say in that example, we did $1,000, and you could be saying, well, Kelly, you could have maybe got the house for him for 521. The answer to that question is possibly that is true. However, what if the other person had an appraisal guarantee in which they were going to automatically pay 20,000 over the appraised value, and we were only at 15. So our other term wasn't quite as good. Then the seller would go, well, man, let's just go with the other one. Yeah, I'm making $1,000 less on the purchase price, but I'm hedging that risk because I'm going to get more if it doesn't appraise as high, right? And there's all kinds of terms, as we all know, in a purchase contract. So it could be a lot of different things. So to leave no doubt, right, assuming our other terms weren't maybe quite as good, but in the ballpark, that $5,000 usually does a trick. And then if you get higher in the price point, around $1 million or more, it might be smart to go 6,000 to 7,000, potentially 10, right? And so on and so forth. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, don't always, but always discuss a cap with your client, okay? The cap gives them assurance that they're not going to spend over a certain amount, right? It also could lead them to not getting the property potentially too, if you don't get them to agree to a high enough cap or max on their price, right? Escalation clause. Okay. Rule number three, the one other option, which is kind of tough for some people to swallow, is to do an uncapped escalation clause. So right away, I know what you're thinking. Oh, but Kelly, if they do uncapped, it could go way above what they could afford. The answer to that question is yes, it could, but you're still in control. And here's the secret behind that. Okay. We have an addendum that we always submit with a escalation clause. That escalation clause addendum states, okay, which every listing agent looks past, states that, and I'll just paraphrase, that that in the event our client is the winner based on, because it's an escalation clause addendum specific, right? Just for that. In the event our client wins the deal based upon the escalation clause being triggered, okay, that the seller has to reconfirm the value with the buyer, and then they sign off to agree upon it, right? So now walk me through this, guys. Now every state could be a little bit different, okay? But in Arizona, which I'd argue most states are probably similar to this, is in that example, let's say that that rule example I just gave you, but let's go with hypothetical numbers now, okay? Let's say we were at 505, right? We increased our offer to 515, like I said, and then we did an uncapped escalation clause. We're going to beat any other offer, no matter where it's at, by $5,000, right? Okay. Now, let's say the next best offer was 555 because somebody just got crazy with the house, okay? That automatically means we win at 560. But what if the client doesn't have that money to come out of pocket to actually do that deal? Or what if he can't qualify that high, right? Now, there's a trick part. You're like, oh, now he's screwed. Now the earnest money is hard, or he's going to lose the money. No. Hold on here. Because what will happen is we don't have a purchase price that we agreed to. We agreed to beat another price by $5,000. What is that price? We don't know. So now it forces the listing agent, okay, this is the gold right here. It forces the listing agent to then reach out to you as a buyer agent and go, okay, Jimmy, congratulations. Your buyer got the deal. Okay, what's the price? 560. Whew, 560. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send over an addendum for your client to sign, agreeing that the purchase price is 560. Now, if your client can't do 560, what does your client not have to do?
They don't have to sign it.
Don't sign the addendum. And now you know.
So you have a little bit of
It's not
assurance
too
there. Yes.
Yeah. So you call back the agent, go, you know what? We didn't expect it to go this high. I mean, congratulations, but my client can't afford that. He was, it was uncapped because no one ever thought it went that high, right? So we can't sign the addendum. So go ahead and go with the second best offer, and you're out. Now, let's say it goes to 545, and you can't afford that. Okay, then you're in, right? I mean, it is a beautiful. Now, some people get nervous on this. Okay. And if you're in a different state, or even with a different brokerage within our state, please check with your broker, check with your state contract, your board, whoever you have to do, your attorney, whatever it may be, right? I'm not saying this is one size fits all. However, it's just one example of thinking outside the box that you can do with the escalation clause. Now, Elizabeth, let's go all the way back full circle to the beginning. How do you simply write an escalation clause? Okay. I'll give you just a basic boilerplate thing that we always say. And it's something like this, okay? In the event, and you're typing this up in your purchase contract of your local real estate contract. In the event the seller receives another bona fide purchase offer or offers better than the subject, better than our purchase contract dated whatever date on the subject property, an escalation clause will trigger at which the buyer's current offer dated will automatically increase by $5,000 up to but not to exceed $535,000, whatever it is, right? And then you always put a second sentence in there. It says, in the event this escalation clause triggers, seller to provide proof of the other bona fide purchase contract that triggered said escalation clause, right? And you can mix those words around a little bit, but that's the gist of how, that you write it. So there you have it. And then
so you can't get swindled by most people would do this, but be like, oh yeah, we had an offer for, 540. Yours came out just above, and they didn't. Yeah, exactly.
You don't want that, right? So do your client a favor and make sure they actually have to prove that offer.
It exists. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how you do it, guys. And it's a beautiful thing. You can strike that chord hopefully between getting the property, but yet not leaving money on the table, right? That's the whole key. And your client should hopefully love you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think that's probably one of the most, we talked about strategies for how to get your buyer the house that they want and everything. I think that's probably one of the best strategies, one of the most, should be most widely used right now and everything too. So, and knowing how to do it correctly is very important. So thank you, Kelly, for walking us through that. If you guys have any questions about this or anything else, especially team building, and how Kelly built his team, you can contact him. Kelly, where can they contact you to talk about this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. info@kellycookhomes.com or my cell, text or call 480-227-2028. You can also go to our website that we have where you can get that document, Elizabeth, that tells you.
If you just want to skip talking to Kelly, go to get the good stuff. You can do that too.
I don't blame you if you do. I like to talk, so I don't blame you, right? But yeah, it's buildyourrealestateteam.com, buildyourrealestateteam.com, and just put your information in and it will automatically send to your email the document that gives you all the step-by-step modules as to how to appropriately and sequentially build your real estate team.
Lovely. Well, we will see you guys next time. Hopefully we'll have some good news, maybe about the market, like maybe getting a little better sometime soon here, but
hopefully, but probably not.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep you posted. All right. See you guys.
See you guys.
Bye, Kelly.
Welcome to the podcast Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook, where we will discuss the latest and most relevant business strategies to help you do one thing extremely well: sell more homes. We'll discuss everything from business planning to lead generation and conversion to past client customer service and everything in between. Join us for authentic conversations and nuts and bolts takeaways you can implement into your business today. And now, Selling Real Estate with Kelly Cook.